that looks extremely easy, and it really was. Most of it was just getting the bolts loose, but these came out like a charm. Definitely going to be able to reuse these. We'll probably just clean them up and then just use some thread locker once we get those back on. I want to show you guys, so this is supposed to be attached to the top of the strut, and there's normally like a bolt that goes through here, and if you look, the bolt is on there, but it looks like the bearing just kind of wore through the top of the strut. So yeah, good thing we're changing this out. I think this part is the normal part with Mark 3s, maybe, question mark. So basically you gotta pull back the carpet on the wheel wells here, and then there's these little plastic lids that kind of cover where the strut mounts are, and then it looks like it's just 2 bolts or 1 on each side, and then it just kind of drops out the bottom. And then I'll show you underneath where it's a little different, where there's an actual bolt that goes like on the side of like what would be the control arm or the trailing arm. So I think that's where it's different. I'll be honest, I haven't put coilovers on a Mark III before. I know on a Mark IV it's 2 bolts through the bottom, through the wheel well. But on these, it looks like it's all internal to the vehicle, so. Alright, so don't mind all the rustiness, but this is the bolt that we gotta get out and then push the strut out. It's kind of similar to like older trucks and such. It looks like there's another big nut on this side, so it looks like it's gonna be here and here. I didn't see this when I was spraying everything, so hopefully this comes off kind of smooth, but we will see. And then we'll get all this cleaned up and sprayed as well, so that we don't have to worry about you know, any rust or anything down the road. So we'll get this all taken care of. We'll get this looking good, and I believe there's a heat shield that's been rattling around underneath here, so we'll go ahead and get that taken care of too while we're down here. So obviously when we have the car lowered, we don't have to worry about getting back underneath this just to change out something. Alright, so I did it first just to make sure that I can do it, but you're supposed to use a 21mm wrench on the inside by the drum, kind of like how I showed you guys that I found that there's another bolt on the other side, which makes more sense now. And then I just used an impact on the other side and pushed it out. But in a pinch, I wouldn't recommend this, but in a pinch you could totally use a pair of channel locks, and I think you'll be okay. It didn't strip it or anything, so that's good. It definitely held on really nicely, and it worked. So I'm gonna keep moving forward here and probably show you guys a little bit more on the other side, just because it's an easier angle and I can show you guys how I got this off. So. Alright, I'm gonna try and give you guys like a double perspective so you can see what I'm doing, but I'm basically just taking this bolt. So I found out that there's 2 bolts. So once you take off this little plastic cover, there is one of these little like washers over like the bushing, and then a small 17mm nut. Then as soon as you take that off, there's another nut holding the actual washer or the bushing in, and it's another 17mm nut. I didn't have to use like an impact or anything to hold the little needle top of the strut. I just used a 17mm wrench and just kind of went at it. I always just loosen them. I don't take them all the way off just so that the struts and everything don't just come falling out of the car when I loosen it. This is what it looks like. It's just literally like a bearing with a little metal piece, and then that's the bolt that we just took out. So now we've got that loose. I don't know if you may have caught it in the video, but I definitely like heard it kind of drop down. So I'll probably do that on the other side now that we have it all loosened up. And then the rear beam might fall. I think there's a sway bar No, there isn't, so it's probably gonna fall. But we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it doesn't make a huge clashing sound. And I'm sure you saw that, but the beam just kind of fell, which I kind of figured was gonna happen. But because it's off the ground, I'm not too worried about it. Get into these ST coils. I'm sorry if the sound isn't super great. I've got some fans going on because we just finished the spray painting. So let's go ahead and get, I've already honestly opened these, but it was more so just to make sure like these were the right ones because of how weird they are as far as the rear goes. But I'm gonna get these pops open. I didn't mean to break the box, but oh well. We broke the box. So that looks like just the shipping label. Here is the tube paperwork and instructions. And in here we have the key to happiness, or the coilover key, which I always recommend to put these in your glove box because these always get lost. I know on my last Mark III, there wasn't a coilover key for it, and it already had coilovers on it, so I had to buy another one of these. So recommend to keep this inside of your car. Then, if I can get this unstuck, we have our ST Coilovers. So as I mentioned, so these are the fronts. Pretty basic, very similar to just a regular Mark III setup with the carrier here, as well as the strut top and everything like that. So nothing crazy there. But the bottom is the weird one. So this was what I was telling you guys about, how it's almost upside down in the way that it kind of mounts. I guess it's not upside down, it's just, I don't know. To me this looks strange, just because I'm so used to like Mark IV setups where the spring is separate from the strut itself. And yeah, so I don't know. I think it looks weird. It doesn't look like a normal coilover because like you have like all this stuff up here and everything. And then like the spring is like way down low, so it looks pretty different, but whatever. You may think it looks normal, I think it looks weird. These pieces right here, so I went ahead and sanded them down and spray painted them so they looked a little bit better. But you have to reuse those, and those go right up on top of the strut here. So that's kind of where I was talking about how it looks like the strut is almost upside down, because you have like this, all the adjustment on the bottom, and then it's just this huge tower that'll probably go down to about here on this strut. So you'll see it when it's all together. It looks kind of awkward, but we'll get it done here. All right, so now that we have everything taken apart, we can kind of show you kind of the differences between like the factory equipment and then going ahead and being able to upgrade. So these are the Powerflex Mark 1, 2, and 3 bushings. I believe they're all the same. Well, I'm sorry, 2 and 3, VW Golf. There's the part number if you need that. We do sell all of these over at UroTuning. They're all available there. If you have like a specific application like a Volkswagen Estate like this, just double check with the sales guys, but they'll be able to definitely get you hooked up, because that's exactly where I got all of these. So just showing you a side-by-side of why you want to replace this kind of stuff whenever you're doing coilovers or any kind of suspension like bags. So this is the strut bearing for the front. And as you can see, I'm literally having to pick up the little bearing balls because they are completely falling out, and you can see that's very worn out, and one just fell on the floor. So I would definitely recommend that you go ahead and get those replaced. Once again, these are all available at UroTuning.com. These are brand new FAG strut bearings made in Germany, so everything is good there, no quality issues, and these will be a direct replacement for the old factory ones that are very worn out. So as you can tell, nice new casing here on the outside. Actually, this one's actually even missing the plastic casing on the outside that's supposed to kind of house everything. That's probably why these bearings were getting soot and everything inside of them and getting all destroyed. These are the front strut bushings. So you can see here we've got the Powerflex ones, and then here's the factory one. Very similar. So these are the VR6 style. UroTuning recommends to just go ahead and use these VR6 style ones rather than like an OEM style bushing. And Powerflex also has the same recommendation because these work better. They certainly last a lot longer and they're more performance oriented. So you don't have to worry about them wearing out anytime soon, especially because of the construction that they have. Very similar in size, so you don't have to worry about any kind of fitment issues. They're a touch taller, but nothing that you can go ahead and take care of with your coilover since you're installing them anyway. And then of course on the rear, same kind of deal. On the rear on this car, I think it's the same on just regular Golf. There's a top and a bottom, if I can orient these correctly, kind of. Well, you get the point. But once again, same exact construction. These are actually almost exactly the same size, obviously just a better material. And of course you want to just transfer over the little bushing nuts that are from the factory one over to the new ones. That way you have the exact fitment and everything works just as it should. And once again, you apply that lube so that you don't get any kind of weird squeaks or rattles while you reassemble everything there. And then of course, as you probably saw, we already went ahead and put these strut tops, so we're ready to go ahead and put everything back together. Guys, and just like that, we've got the car back on the ground. We have our Powerflex bushings put in. Thank you to Powerflex for those. Super big help. We went ahead and got that installed with our coilover kit, which is also available at UroTuning.com. To go ahead and get these ST coils put in the vehicle. We've got the front and rears all set. The only thing we have left suspension-wise is to go ahead and get the Black Force Industry drop plates put in. Those are those bomber plates that you may have seen. So all we have to do is get those put in, but we're waiting to put the new tires on, our new wheels. The wheels are already here, but we're just waiting on the tires. They should be shipped here today to my house, and we'll be able to go ahead and get the suspension all lined in for us. As far as any other modifications that we have planned going on, we do have a couple of OEM Plus items going in, such as aft steering wheel. We have an aft shift knob, a couple of Hella OEM kind of plus items that were available at the dealerships back in the 90s for these cars. So I've had a lot of that imported from overseas, so we're going to try and get all that installed before Fastest, which is in about 2 weeks. So if you don't know about that, I'll link the event in the description below so you guys can check that out. That's pretty much a pretty cool event that Volkswagen puts on. It's kind of a show and shine / race event that they put on. And this year it's going to be at the Volkswagen headquarters in Herndon, Virginia.